The Central Asian Report is a program about the ongoing geopolitical trends and the panorama of the present-day realities in Central Asia.
Politics, economics and culture, events, trends and people, all this on one territory. Hello, you're watching the Central Asian Report in today's program. Tajikistan, the return of labor migrants back home. As an experiment, a 5-day school week is being introduced in Kazakhstan. Cultural exchange, theaters of Central Asia paying each other a visit. And coming right up, headlines from Central Asia. Construction of the Kamchik tunnel has been completed in Uzbekistan. Its length is more than 19 kilometers. And at the moment, this is the longest tunnel in Central Asia. Kamchik is an important section of the Kyrgyzstan-Uzbekistan railway line within the transport network of the Silkway economic belt. More than 1,000 construction workers from China took part in its construction. The project cost $450 million. For now, Kamchik is the most expensive non-resource related joint project of China and Uzbekistan. The construction of a plant for the production of gasoline out of natural gas has commenced in Turkmenistan. This is the joint project of a large Japanese consortium and a group of companies, Turkmengas. Its cost, $1.7 billion. This is the largest project in the processing of natural gas into gasoline. According to the plans, the plant will produce 600,000 tons of high-quality Euro 5 standard gasoline. The date for the launch of the operations of this enterprise for December of 2018. This year, the volume of exports of fruits and vegetables from Tajikistan to Russia may increase by 1.5 times. First and foremost, larger supplies of the more popular Tajik products are planned, of black cherry, grapes, apricots, gourds and nuts. In addition, Tajikistan's agriculturalists are putting more efforts this season in the cultivation of earlier varieties of vegetables. Particularly, it is planned to export around 200,000 tons of earlier varieties of onion. Labor migrants from Central Asia are returning back home in great numbers. The economic crisis in Russia has left hundreds of thousands of people without their usual sources of income. But what can the domestic labor market offer them? Our correspondent in Dushanbe found out about the current situation of labor migrants from Tajikistan and about their prospects for the future. Details in our next story. Gulamjon Muhiddinov was just recently deported from St. Petersburg. The man didn't even have time to work in the Russian northern metropolis. He was stopped right at the airport and deported back. Not knowing what his rights are, he was not able to find out the reason for the deportation or to resolve the problem right there on the spot. I was denied entry into Russia and I don't even know why. Perhaps there was something wrong with my documents, because I know I did not violate any laws. Now I'm going to look for a job here at home. All the information about the potential reasons for deportation, about the labor rights, and documents which are needed to work is provided at the City Center for Migration. Up to 100 former labor migrants come here daily. Some are rushing to register for Russian language courses, and some are here to take the language test in order to get a certificate. Here one can obtain a certificate that is officially recognized in Russia. There are free courses. We're trying to get groups of people in order for them to attend the courses and improve their knowledge. According to the latest data of the Center for Strategic Research under the President of Tajikistan, 96% of the labor migrants go to Russia to look for work, 3% go to Kazakhstan, and 1 to 2% to other countries. The most popular job is still as a construction worker. 70% of migrants work in the construction sector, but if before 50 to 60% of them worked as unskilled laborers, today this number is only 20%. Others have already obtained skills. When the demand for workers from Tajikistan was high in Russia, special educational centers for adults were opened up in the country. One could learn a new trade here in just a couple of months. For those who already decided to migrate to Russia, there is a special program. The most in-demand trades are learned here, as a welder, electrician, or plumber. Also, Russian language courses and courses on law are offered. Abdurasul is confident that by learning the trade of a welder, he will be able to provide for his family. This profession enjoys great demand in Russia and here at home. My uncle works at the Chelyabinsk tractor plant. I want to go there. I heard that there might be benefits for labor migrants. Perhaps that will be in my case as well. However, because of the global financial crisis, the flow of migrants from Tajikistan to Russia decreased. Last year, more than 380,000 people returned back home. Some admit that it is no longer as economically advantageous to work in Russia. Tajikistan's authorities are trying to provide decent jobs for these specialists upon their return home. Our city center provides information on the local companies and enterprises to all those looking to work here. We help them with getting a job and even follow up with them, call the plants and companies where they work, and find out how things are. The country's president also announced before the parliament about the creation of new workplaces and enterprises. Emomali Rahmon announced the adoption of the state program and facilitation of employment of the population. Its aim is to provide workplaces to labor migrants who have returned home. The program will be realized in the upcoming 2 years. Within its framework, it is planned to create more than 300,000 workplaces. Schools in Kazakhstan are planning to introduce a 5-day school week. This system has already been introduced as an experiment in 30 educational institutions. Our correspondent from Almaty brings us the report on the interim results of this novelty and whether the parents support it. Today, the standards of elementary education are rapidly changing. There are interactive blackboards, new school books, as well as single-seated and therefore mobile school desks. But the most important change is the shift to a 5-day school week. This idea was voiced for the first time at the beginning of 2015, and among teachers, it caused a wave of confusion. Our school is not just a regular school, it is a gymnasium, and we have special courses. That is why children have 8 or 7 lessons during a 6-day school week. And of course, they will have to be cut back. And in that case, teachers' salaries will be decreased. Experiments with a 5-day school week were already conducted in schools. That time, the program was not decreased, and instead the school year was prolonged. And children attended school in the summertime. This experiment turned out to be unsuccessful. In June, it is very hot in the classrooms. Many are not adapted for this. There are few air conditioners, and in addition, parents leave for vacation and of course take their children with them. Representatives of the Ministry of Education state that the new calendar for the school year will have a minimum effect on the length of the summer holidays. In 30 schools, it is already being tried out as an experiment. After its completion, the 5-day school week will be introduced in all schools. The transition to a 5-day school week is planned for no earlier than the 2017-2018 school year, when all the first graders will switch to a new educational program. The main advantage of the new educational system is the introduction of cross-cutting themes. For example, when the topic is family, children write essays about parents, solve problems with brothers and sisters as characters, and draw family portraits. Also, a new subject is introduced, natural science, which teaches young children about the basics of physics, chemistry, and biology.
Мы теперь переходим от человека знающего к человеку, способному творчески мыслить, действовать и саморазвиваться. Если раньше ученик
We're now switching from the idea of a person as a possessor of knowledge to the idea of a person who is capable to think creatively, to act and self-develop. If before students were seen as passive recipients of knowledge, then today they can no longer remain passive. The special feature of the new system for elementary education is the combination of academic and practical aspects of education.
применять полученные знания для решения задач прикладного характера.
In accordance with the new standards, the educational program for first graders has one less and less of Russian language. But parents of children who are participating in this experiment are not concerned by this. It is said that a teacher who passes special preparatory courses already devotes a lot of attention to languages. From the early grades, children learn basics in Kazakh, Russian and English. Very meticulous work on changing the educational program awaits the Ministers of Education. It is promised to develop methods of integrating different subjects, as well as to do everything possible in order for it not to affect the salaries of teachers. Independent theaters of Almaty and Tashkent conducted their tours in an unusual format, in the format of an exchange. First, Kazakhstan's theater Artishok performed a number of theater performances in the capital of Uzbekistan. Then the Ilhom troupe came to Almaty as a reciprocal visit. Our correspondent followed the travels of the theater groups and is now ready to tell us how it all happens. When the police enters the theater with dogs and checks everything, when there's police at the entrance, when the performance has to finish by 10, when you cannot perform outside in a public place, when you cannot stage something, for example, in the metro. Anastasia Tarasova, actress and director of the Almaty theater Artishok, is sharing her experience of the tour in Tashkent. This year, Artishok and the Uzbek theater Ilhom exchanged visits. I really liked the moment when in every corner of the theater something was happening. In one there is a training, in another a rehearsal. Something is happening in the foyer. And it set some kind of rhythm which is captivating. This is truly something which allows them to continue what they're doing and not give up. Thanks to such an approach to their work, Ilhom has earned a serious reputation in the theater world. This troupe has become a favorite at European festivals. That is why the tour to Almaty was a great event for Kazakhstan's theater lovers. Last year, this troupe participated in Almaty's theater festival, and I think that it just astounded the audience in Almaty. Everyone was blown away. That is why there are so many people here today, because everyone is waiting for something unexpected. And the audience in Almaty was not disappointed. According to the director, the piece Laboratory C, which was staged at the Artishok Theater, was not just a play, but an anti-theater project. The Ilhom troupe is not afraid of experiments, because as a rule, they turn out to be successful. From the first day of its existence, this was an independent theater. For Ilhom, the most important are freedom of thought and action. That is why the chosen idea and approach were always different from the more academic standards. From the impression that I got, this is truly a free theater, and they do everything the way that they feel it should be done, existing independently of state dictates, free of state policy and censorship. Their performance is focused on things that interest them. But aside from the creative aspect, the theater also has administrative tasks, and this is tackled not without difficulties. For example, according to the law in Uzbekistan, theaters are prohibited from accepting any kind of sponsorship, and the earnings from ticket sales continue to decrease. We already have our established audience base, but unfortunately, or perhaps for the better, at the moment it is changing a lot. Why is this happening? Because many people are leaving. A great share of our audience has already left Tashkent. But despite all the difficulties, Ilhom has commenced its 40th theater season. The history of the legendary collective includes many dramatic situations, but perhaps they only made the collective stronger and taught it to treat their art with due care. You are watching the Central Asian Report. Until next time on Kazakh TV.
Kazakh TV.